A Year with God, Day 90. I actually found today somewhat frustrating. The reading is out of Exodus, and it has to do with the Passover. And the commentators are introducing the idea of worship and ritual. And they introduce it by talking about, even in the most hurried of situations, like preparing to flee Egypt, there's still time and space for ritual and worship. And honestly, ritual and worship is not technically something that I have a background in. My tradition is not a ritualistic, it's not a liturgical background. It honestly kind of questions sometimes, I think, using ritual and worship. But that's really not the issue that I had with it. My frustration comes with the fact that they're talking about the how we worship that's important. Not just why we worship, not just what we worship, but how we worship that becomes important. And then in the activity, they ask you to consider how you worship. But they never, at this point, they never really address the thought of how does God want us to worship. And in this particular instance, God is laying out very, very specifically, this is what I want you to do. I want you to prepare the Passover. This is how I want you to celebrate it. This is what I want you to do with the Passover lamb. All of these details, and the how in this particular instance is very, very important to the way that the Hebrews were responding to God. The how was actually God ordained. And I think that in some cases that how actually can be very important. My frustration when I was reading it was the fact that they put such an emphasis on the idea that the how is important, but then never address how they think that God calls us to worship at the moment. So I'm hoping that in the next few days I'm going to see a little bit more of that reflected.